Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Georgiana with Expressions Craft Studio. Thanks for joining me. Today we're making this cute little flower from Azlina Abul's Quilling Tutorial on YouTube. And she's working with today, the title of the video is Pointy Petal Flower Quilling Tutorial. But the thumbnail, if you're looking at the video picture, says Teardrop Swirl Flower Quilling Tutorial. And it's a beautiful little flower in yellows and pinks and oranges, and so we're doing that today, but we're not using multiple colors. We're sticking with just single colors. So this first one I'm showing you, this yellow one, is I used one strip per petal. My strips are 10.5 inches long, and I used this small comb, the pink comb. Now I say small because the teeth are closer together, so to me that's the smallest comb. The one on the right, the purple comb, the teeth are a little bit farther apart, so I'm referring to it as the larger comb. These are both the smallest two combs I have, but these are how I'm referring to them. So the yellow one, again, one petal. The white petal here was actually 3 strips, which is what she uses in her tutorial, is 3 strips. And you can see how much bigger it is. It's considerably larger, and what you can't really tell from looking at it is that the Vortex is a lot better on the bigger petal. Now the one on the right, the blue flower, that was, I believe it was still 1 strip, but you can see that the petals are larger than the petals made with the smaller comb. And for comparison, right there you can kind of see how much larger they are. Not a lot, but a little bit. And again, it might be 2 strips. I did it yesterday, I can't quite remember. But the one we're going to make today is going to be with this kind of, I don't know, violet color, I guess. And we're just using 1 strip. So again, 10.5 inches per petal. And I'm going to use the smaller comb, even though the larger comb, the purple comb, is much easier for me to see. But I feel like the smaller together the teeth are, the better you're going to get that vortex shape or look at the end. So she doesn't use any glue in hers, which is challenging for me, but I'm practicing and doing my best. So I'm just going over the first 2 teeth, leaving a little bit of a lip and wrapping it over, and then I'm going to wrap around the back. And I'm just going to try to press it each time I go around a tooth to make sure it doesn't slip loose on me once I start adding more loops. Then I'm flipping it around to the front, because it's a little easier for me to see from the front where I need to put that next strip, where my next loop is going. You can do it from the front or the back, whatever's easier for you. It just is a little easier for me to do it from the front. You want to make sure that you hit every tooth, because that will change the way your vortex looks if you miss or skip teeth. The other thing is you don't want to go over the same loop twice. Now the good thing about this smaller comb is it's really hard to do that, because the gaps between the teeth are so small that you'll just kind of run into that strip that previously went around the loop or the tooth. So you'll know right away that you need to move out 1 more tooth. But it's see, right there's what I did. You want to make sure that you just hit every other tooth, or every consecutive tooth, let's say that, and loop around it. And I think that's what I'm explaining to you right there. I apologize. I did not plug in my microphone, so I went through this whole video just talking my little ear off. And when I went back to play it in, I realized I hadn't plugged in my mic. So I'm doing. This is my attempt at a voiceover, which I'm not very good at. So we'll see how it goes. But you're just going to go until you get to the end of the strip, or to your, you can't go around the you don't have enough strip left to make your next loop, let's put it that way. I do like these little combs. I got them in a set off of Amazon. I think it's a 7-piece set, and I'll link it below. You don't need to use these, but they were fairly inexpensive, and it came with a lot of different combs. There's one that's the same size, I believe, as the purple one, but it's got a handle on it. So there's different options. If you have pets, they're great to have, especially if they go outdoors at times. But I just bought them for the quilling, and you can get them in smaller sets, so to speak, so that you don't have to buy the 7-piece set, but it was still under $10. And like I said, I link it below. It's an Amazon link, so there is a small commission for me, but that's at no extra cost to you. So I've cut off the excess strip here, and I'm just gluing it down. I want to be careful not to get the glue on the sides, because that could also affect the way your vortex will look in the end if you've accidentally glued all of your strips together. So Azlina uses her needle tool or something like that, I believe, to go through the top, to push the top down. I actually found it works better, or it works fine just using my finger. However, I've pinched this one so tight I don't have any wiggle room, so which I do figure out later. Right now, I think, because I'm trying to use the needle tool and it's still not working. So what you want to do is just kind of hold it toward the bottom of the teardrop, and you're going to pinch those loops together, so from top to bottom, not side to side, but you really want them to go from top to bottom as straight as possible, which I went a little crooked on that one. And then she does some pinching and pulling where she's pulling the inner loops around, help shape that vortex to make it look nice and tight. And she does a better job of this than I do, so you may want to check out her video just in case. But I do really like the finished look on these, though. So you see there, it just kind of starts to swirl around the center. And like I said earlier, the more strips you use, the easier it is to see that. There's only so much you can do with one strip, but I like the flowers to be a lot smaller. So here we're just going to pinch all of these. You get a better look at this one. You're just trying to keep it straight up and down. And then as you release it, you can start to see that vortex form. But I keep going off camera. I apologize for that. Right now I'm just kind of pinching and pulling and trying to slide stuff around to help make that vortex look a little bit neater or prominent. So the second one actually came out better than the first one. And again, we're just going to pinch all those loops together. You don't want to pinch it too hard, but and then you just kind of slide stuff back and forth a little bit. That's what she was doing. And it just kind of helps reshape that vortex nicely. Now the good thing about using the 3 colors like she does, you can definitely, the vortex definitely stands out more. But because I was only using one strip, I really just didn't want to use 3 colors. Now what I could do is use half a strip of each, and that would make it, you know, just a little bit bigger than it currently is. But look how nice that white vortex looks. It's much nicer because there's more, you know, you've got 3 times the strip to work with, and it gives it more space to kind of unfurl, so to speak. So we've got one more to pinch. Now I wasn't going to pinch the tips of the flowers. I was going to leave them rounded, but in the end I decided to go ahead and pinch them, and I'll show you that here in a minute. And again, we're just kind of pull and release and let the center of that vortex spin around a little bit. Now the other thing she does is once she gets her shape the way she likes them, she adds glue to the back. I did not do that because I'm going to immediately turn these into flowers, but they can the loops can kind of slide out on you if you're not careful, and you'll see as I push this one out how it kind of domes up a little bit. If you could push those inner loops all the way out, and then you may or may not be able to get it back together. So she glues hers Because I'm getting ready to turn it into a flower immediately, I'm not gluing mine. But I am going to go ahead and pinch the tips here, just because I kind of bent them anyway. Oh, I guess not. I'm going to glue everything together right now, and then I will pinch the tips, which is probably not the best way to do it. You probably want to do that before, but it did work out okay to do it this way. So this is the first petal, and I'm just putting glue on both sides of that petal, and then I'll attach the other petals, 2 of the other petals to either side, or 1 other petal to either side. And then while that's kind of setting up, I will glue the other 2 petals together, and then we'll glue those 2 to those 3 and have our flower base. So I'm going to let these sit here and let this glue dry for a second, and I'm going to grab some of my gemstones or rhinestones or flat back pearls, whatever, that I'm going to put in the center of these flowers. Because I don't have the little punch that Azlina has, and I probably have a small die I could use, but this is just easier, and I actually like the way it looks. So I've got these from Altenew, and I really like, these are fairly flat dome, so they don't stick up as much as, say, these ones from Stampin' Up. They're a little bit more domed, and I'm undecided. I thought I would just use black and white, but then I saw those and I thought, well, maybe those blue ones would look nice, who knows. So we're going to finish gluing this little, what, lilac, lavender, what did we call this earlier? Violet. This little violet colored flower together. And then those 2 just slide right into those other 3, and you got, looks like a star. So I'm just going to pinch that together for a few seconds to, again, we want that glue to be nice and a fairly firm hold before we start fiddling with it too much. So while that's drying, we're going to grab this blue flower, and let's see what color gemstone or pearl or enamel dot we want to put on top. So I kind of like the white, but I also like the black. I'm not sure about the violet. For the yellow, I'm definitely thinking black, but we'll look at these, and then I realize the yellow ones on this one are actually more green than yellow, so I'm not going to use those. For the yellow flower, might still use them for the blue flower. This is definitely the wrong shade of pinky purple. It's more of a mauve. That's not going to work for the violet flower. But the blues could potentially work for the blue flower, even though you can't see them because I didn't hold them up high enough. There you go. And in the end, I decided I didn't like those either. It was a lot of hemming and hawing and trying to decide. And you can see that those are variegated or ombre. They start out dark and then work down to light, so you do have a lot of options with those, but then it's hard to go wrong with black and white. Alright, so I'm going to grab one of the black dots for the center of the yellow flower. It's kind of reminiscent of a daisy, although it's definitely not daisy shaped or sunflower shaped. So I'm adding a little bit of glue because even though these are self-adhesive dots, the glue just helps give me a little bit of time to find the right position before I, press it down really firmly to make it permanent. That looks good, so I'm just going to give it a firm press. And then we will figure out what we're going to do with this blue one. I haven't decided yet about the violet. In the end, I do end up pulling out another package of flat back pearls, and I pull a pearl from there to use. But for the blue one, we are definitely going to go with white, even though the black would have looked nice too. Once again, we're going to add our glue. And then we're going to pick our little flat back acrylic off of the self-adhesive sheet. And try to get it centered. That doesn't look quite centered to me, so let's just keep fussing with it a little bit until we get it where we like it. Oh, that's much better. Or at least I think so. You may feel differently, but I think it's much better. So for this one, again, we're going to pull something out of our drawer, and I am going to go ahead here and pinch the tips. And she used little tweezers, which is what I'm doing, and they actually work pretty well. I think you can do it with your fingers if you wanted to, but the tweezers do kind of make it a little bit easier, at least for me. Plus they're a little more uniform. If I use my fingers, I don't necessarily get them in the same place every time. I am giving that a pre-squeeze just so that I can get a hold of the tip of the flower. And actually I do think this helps with this flower, since my teardrops were kind of mangled. I do think it helps that flower look a little bit neater. So here's a set of, or a sheet of sticky back or self-adhesive rhinestones that I've had forever, and I could use either the dark purple or the lighter lavender, or even one of the clear ones here. I don't really like the clear one in the end, but the good thing about them is you can color over them if you like. I don't feel like the shades of purple are quite right, so I end up not going with those. But here's my little package of flat back pearls. They come in assorted different sizes and colors. I don't honestly remember where I got them, so I won't post a link below, but I'm sure you could find something similar on Amazon, which probably is where I got them. So I'm dumping a few out, and then I'm going to play with some of the different colors here to see what I like best. And the very first one I pick up is the one I end up using in the end, even though I'm going to look at a lot of the others. I went to get my glue dots, and I've had these for a few years, so you might not be able to find this brand anymore, but you'll find them in the paper crafting section of your local craft store. And the dot's a little bit bigger than I need it to be, so I'm just going to kind of push the edges up toward the center to make it a little bit smaller. I don't want to see it sticking out behind the pearl. And it looks like it's still a little too big, so I'll just do that again. You can also pick these off and kind of roll them around between your fingers, which will make a little glue ball, so to speak. And I'm just going to put this, since these aren't self-adhesive, I'm going to put this on the back and then I'll add a little bit of glue to the flower. And again, that just gives me some wiggle room till I get the rhinestone positioned in the center, and then I'll give it a firm press to hopefully lock that in so it doesn't slide around. I don't know if you can hear my cat. She hears me talking and thinks she's supposed to come in, I guess. Now I think that's actually like a deep navy. Excuse me. A deep navy color, but I felt like it looked really good on there. It's not black, it's not purple, but it's still really, I feel like it's a light, a perfect contrast, so I really like it. So let's do a quick review here of what we've done today. The yellow and the violet colored flower were done with a smaller quilling comb, and they are 1 strip per petal, whereas the blue one was done with the larger comb, and they are also 1 strip per petal. The white vortex petal shape there you see was actually 3 strips, and it does actually shape a lot nicer with the bigger pieces, but you also end up with a bigger flower. I really wanted to keep my flower small, so that's the way I chose to do it, was just with 1 strip. Now you could finish these centers out however you want. You could coil a piece to put on there and then dome it if you want. You could use your Nouveau glitter drops or whatever you've got, that you like to use. I like the Nouveau drops, but I mostly have lighter colors, pastels, and they don't necessarily show up great on these darker, brighter colors. So I want to thank everybody for joining me. I'm going to show you a quick preview here of some butterflies I've made. I do want to thank my new subscribers. I really appreciate everybody watching. If you have any questions, just let me know. I made this butterfly a couple days ago. This is with the Astro Brights paper, and there are 3 shades inside of each one of those components, and then they're wrapped in black, so 4 total. And I did this using, I believe, the husking board, but you could also use a quilling comb, and basically you wrap it just the same way we were just wrapping the other flower petals that we made. These are all really simple shapes. You could use 1 color. I chose to use 3 within a black color around the outside. Here's a blue one I made, same technique. I don't really like the way it turned out as well. It needs a little something extra. It looks almost more like a robot to me. This one is a smaller one. I really like this one. I put some Wink of Stella on the wings of this one. It's really cute. They're just teardrops in different sizes. This was one I just kind of pieced some different leftover bits together, and I think he came out all right. And same with this one, just a couple of leftover little teardrops and some Wink of Stella on the body. I do think this particular style would make a cute bumblebee as well if you were to use yellows and blacks. This one was, again, really easy, just teardrops. And then your centerpiece, which, different people call it different things. To me, it's kind of like an eye. I think some people call it a diamond. And this is just another one with teardrop shapes. So I'll probably in the next couple days make a few of these because, who doesn't love butterflies? I'm sure there are people that don't, but I love butterflies. And they're really, there's some very complex ones out there on the YouTube that you could make. These are all really, really simple and don't require a lot of measurements or just a lot of extra work or shaping. They're very simple. So anyway, everybody, I want to thank you again for joining me. Like I said, if you have any questions or there's anything you want to see, I will try to accommodate. Just let me know. You can drop me an email. My address is below. And until next time, I just want to say thank you for joining me again, and happy crafting, everybody.